So dear friends, yesterday we spoke about joy and how joy is closely linked to faith, hope and love. It's very difficult to be joyful if we have no hope. Very difficult to be joyful if we don't love. And very difficult to be joyful if we don't have the faith in the Lord that He will take care of things that we're unable to resolve. Very hard to be joyful if we don't have faith, hope and love. Faith, hope and love, obviously these are what are called theological virtues, which means ultimately they have God as their object. They're oriented towards God. And joy itself is the second fruit of the Holy Spirit, love and joy, first two fruits of the Spirit. So the presence of the Spirit within us brings us joy. Okay, another little aspect of joy. There's a wonderful expression. I don't know who actually said it originally. I've heard it quoted a few times though, but it is very useful and very helpful. Comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. So, the more we compare ourselves to other people, invariably, the less joyful we will be. Because if you look at this girl and her amazing teeth, and that girl and her amazing hair, and that girl and her amazing dress, and that girl so rich, and that guy is so sporty, and that guy is really popular, and this guy's really athletic, and this guy is, I don't know, whatever. He's supposed tanned, whatever you want to be, I don't know, whatever's fashionable. Big lips, that seems to be all the rage these days, right? The big lips. And I look at this, and if I was, then I would be. If I was that way, then I would be happy. It's a very slippery slope because you can find yourself comparing yourself an awful lot, especially I think in our teenage years when we're growing and trying to discover who we are. We find ourselves asking ourselves or comparing ourselves to other people, saying, what kind of man do I want to be? What kind of woman do I want to be? And so there are all these pretty people, and there are all these handsome people, and there are all these athletic people, and all these rich people. What kind of person do I want to be? So I find we compare ourselves an awful lot. Now this is obviously greatly exasperated by social media, where people constantly post things about themselves, making their lives look absolutely amazing. After taking 15 selfies, they eventually find one that's half okay, run it through a filter, make themselves look tanned, adjust the background, slim their arms, and then post it, making themselves look amazing. And then everyone else looks at it going, oh, I wish I had their life. Whereas that person may be really, really struggling with this constant need to maintain a certain image. So the three areas I want to look at today are comparing ourselves or hoping to find joy in gold, glory, and girls, right? And that works for lads if you're a girl, it works the other way around. But this is how I heard a Franciscan describe to me the vows that he takes. It's poverty, obedience, and chastity. So he says, how did he phrase it? No cash, no honey, and you get a boss. Right, there you go. But I think these are interesting areas that we compare ourselves, or we compare ourselves to others, or there's this other expression which I think is equally true: far away hills are greener. So if and when I'm finished this stage of my life, then I will be happy. And this can't happen to anyone. It can happen in religious life. As soon as I make my first vows, or as soon as I get accepted into religious life, I'll be happy. Well, it's not necessarily the case. Or as soon as I make my first vows, I'll be happy. As soon as I'm a sister, I'll be happy, or a priest. As soon as I'm stationed in X, as soon as I'm stationed under this certain superior, as soon as I'm out of this province in another province, there's always some reason for me to be happy sometime else. Or when I get married, if I meet a nice guy or a nice girl, I'll be happy. Okay, and then you discover, well, actually, your other half is actually a human being as well, and therefore limited, imperfect. Oh yeah, it's when we have our first child, and then you realize having a first child is absolutely exhausting and makes everything else. Don't get me wrong, I'm very pro-child here, but it's just, I'm saying we can have these kind of naive ideas that, once I have a child, it's all fine. Yeah, but then having a child now gives you a lot less time to be with friends. It gives you no free time. So it's just risky to have this thought of faraway hills are greener. As soon as some circumstance in my life changes, then everything will be okay. So when we look at, again, the rich and the famous, and this was I suppose it was a thing when I was young, those glossy magazines of the Hello magazine of the houses of the rich and famous, and you'd go into Clint Eastwood's home and you'd see all of his 17 pools and 19,000 bedrooms for himself and his wife. And, you can do all the various stars, and you'd see where they lived and where they came from. You, wow, look at this house, and looks amazing, and it overlooks the beach, and okay. Great, and you can be kind of envious of that, or you look at those who have achieved great glory, maybe in sporting circles, those who have achieved all sorts of accolades and finals and awards, medals and trophies. Okay, and it does, it looks good, and it probably is good for a while. But that's not what gives meaning or purpose to a person's life. And if you look at a lot of athletes, after they've reached, we spoke about this about a month ago, I think, this, what do they call it? Post-Olympic depression. After a person has won, even becoming the best in the world, the number one in the world at something. Okay, after you've achieved that and you've worked to get to Olympics, you've probably worked 8 years. 8 years, like a full-time job, 8 years for this split-second decision, for this, just try and get 100th of a second off your time, just to try and throw an extra 50 centimeters, training 8 years to throw that much further, wow. And then even if they do achieve it, it's amazing. You go home and there's pictures and photos and articles, and then what? What do you do the next year? Who are you then? Okay, you've achieved this greatness, and then what? Then, who are you? As with a lot of sports these days, because you have to train so hard and push so hard, the body can't really take it into your, even after your mid-30s. So most of them retire in their early 30s. Okay, you've got another 60 years of life. Okay, so comparing ourselves is the thief of joy. But also living our lives thinking that if certain circumstances change, then everything will be okay. It's also a dangerous thing. If I was married to a certain person, or if we had a child, and I was even walking with a person recently who's was convinced that a certain relationship would make her happy. She dropped all sorts of moral standards in order to maintain that relationship, and invariably, of course, the relationship fell apart. And now the idea is that, well, if I had a baby, and I said, oh yeah, you mean if you had a husband and a child? No, we'll just go straight for the baby. This is such a bad idea. Because what in all of this, what are we missing? Comparison to the thief of joy and faraway hills are greener. Okay, what's missing here? What's the main problem? I think the main problem here is that we're not living in the present. We're not living in the now. So it's like when this is finished, then everything will be fine. When I graduate, this will be fine. When I get married, this will be fine. And I'm not living in the now. What is the Lord calling me to do today? What is the Lord forming me in today? Right? You've all seen, well, probably you haven't, you're all too young. Karate Kid, right? Wax on, wax off. Okay? It might look a bit ridiculous. What's his name? What was the guy's name, though, the young fella? Probably Rick. Good American name. What was his name? No? Danielson, exactly. Yeah, so Daniel wants to learn to play to do karate, and Mr. Maggie has him polish a load of cars, right? So wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. And he says, yeah, okay, I want to learn karate though, not clean cars. And Mr. Maggie says, clean car. So he cleans the cars, wax on, wax off, wax on, and he does, I don't know, whatever it is, 16 cars. And then he has to paint fences. So he's painting fences. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Is this like my payment for the karate training, which will start after this? Is it? Can we just get through this training thing? I just want to do karate. And right. And then he has him do some other things. Okay. And then at the end, he says to Miss Maggie, "So can we start our karate training now?" And Miss Maggie then starts throwing punches at him, and he says, wax on, wax off. And he's learning then how to catch punches and throw them away. So if someone punches you, you catch the punch, you throw it away. Wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. And then the painting of the fences was like, I don't know what that was. Kicks, blocking kicks, was it? Or, yeah, knocking someone's kick away, right? Point was, The ordinary, apparently boring and useless tasks were actually training him for battle. Okay? So now, you, today, in the present, the Lord has you here for a reason, or those watching this at home, the Lord has you in your life situation for a reason. What is he trying to teach you? What is the Lord trying to do with you now? As in, what opportunity have you now? And at times the opportunity is one that you wouldn't have chosen. The opportunity might be, I have to learn to grow in patience. But I'm impatient, so I find that hard. I'd rather, if we could just, can we skip to the lesson? Can we skip to the end of the lesson on patience? You seeing the need for the lesson here? You know? Can we skip to the end of the lesson on patience? Or can we just jump to the conclusion, just kind of, arrive at the finish line with whatever grace you want to give me, Lord? And the Lord is like, yeah, it doesn't really work like that. If I want to teach you virtue, you have to live it consistently. That's the definition of virtue. A persistent it's a good habit, basically. It's a good habit. A consistent disposition in doing the good. So we choose the good regularly. That's how we grow in that virtue. If it's a situation that tests our patience, remaining patient allows us to grow in that virtue. So what do I need to grow in patience? Circumstances that test my patience. That's how I grow in patience. How do we grow in charity? By being in situations that test my charity and choosing charity. How do I grow in love? By being in situations that test my love and choosing love. We don't grow in love by being surrounded by perfect people and lots of little cute babies who are all easy to love. That's nice. Okay. But I'll grow in love when my love is tested, when it is tried. So we better get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because the Lord, because he wants us to grow in virtue, is often going to put us in positions where a certain virtue is tried or tested, in order that we have the opportunity to grow in that virtue, so that 5 years hence we look back and go, wow, that particular action or that particular person used to drive me mad, and now I'm okay with it. Or now I look forward to seeing them, or I look forward to that job, or whatever it is. We have grown. We've grown in virtue. But the growing in the virtue comes at a price, that interior struggle, that getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, having our virtue tested, pulled, stretched. And it might look like we're just polishing cars or painting fences. You might say, what is the point of this particular situation now? But the Lord knows why he allows certain things. He knows. And then in hindsight, it all makes sense. So today, let us focus on the present, today. So here in Ireland, wherever you're joining us from, here in Ireland it's a fairly miserable day. Chances are it'll be raining all day. So that means we're all going to be indoors for most of the day, so there's going to be a little more cabin fever than usual. It happens. But at the same time, we have the birthday celebration of one of our community members, which is going to bring lots of joy. So we focus on that. And then there'll be one or two people who might do their jobs badly or not turn up or whatever it is, and we love them and remind them, would you mind? And all very nice and all very, lovingly, but, we live in the present and do so believing that the Lord has provided these circumstances, these people, and these situations for my growth. And if I live in the present, which incidentally is where God lives, the eternal now, if I live there, I will find him. So may the Lord bless us each day, especially today, as we choose to live in the present and see his footprints all over it. Amen. Dear friends, Father Patrick from Holy Family Mission here, wishing you a happy Advent. We are in our 10th year here in Holy Family, and we've welcomed over 110 young people to our course of faith formation for the 9 months that they spent here, and it's been a great honour to see how they've grown in this greenhouse of faith here. We've launched our Christmas raffle, our Christmas appeal for this year. The top prize is a trip to Medjugorje, We would ask you to prayerfully discern if you'd like to support our mission here. Hopefully Holy Family has blessed you in some way, either directly through the retreats that we hold here or through our online apostolate. So if it has, please consider supporting our mission here. We would be greatly, greatly appreciative of it. Know of our prayers for you. In order to donate, click on the link below, and we'll probably see you in the future. God bless you. Bye now.